In this episode 3 of the Authoritative Coach podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you questions and scenarios that are going to allow you to, when you're working with your clients and your team, to eliminate scope creep, clarify conflicting priorities, and prevent unmanageable workloads. Let's get into it. So how often do your team say yes to client requests, say yes to scope issues, and are ultimately allowing your clients to make decisions and choices that will lead to problems in the future, that you know will lead to problems in the future, but we let them do it anyway? Why do we do this? So if you're nodding along here, you're nodding your head right now, you're thinking this happens all the time. One way to recognize if it's happening a lot is how often do you find yourself sweeping in and saving your team with client problems? This is a good sort of signal that we've got a communication problem, that our clients are actually leading the conversation versus us, right? That they're in control, the client's in control, we don't have much control. And so we have to ask ourselves, why are we doing this, right? Why are we allowing this to happen? Why are we not challenging our clients? Why are we allowing our clients to dictate the terms? Why do we let the client lead us to doing anything less than our best work, right? Why are we allowing the client to get in the way of doing great work? The client doesn't know. It's potentially, like, you're the expert here. You've ran many of these projects. You've done this work many, many times. They haven't. So why are we struggling to push back? Right, that's what we have to ask ourselves. So in our book, Radical Candor, Kim Scott talks about this idea of ruinous empathy. Okay. Now, ruinous empathy is great. It's great to put words to this because a lot of people don't have a word, or they're not able to name this thing where we care about our clients. Of course we care about our clients, but we care about them, but we don't want to hurt their feelings. And so we have this caring, but when they're about to make a mistake or do something wrong, we don't want to annoy them or piss them off or challenge them on it, and therefore we say nothing. So our empathy, our caring becomes ruinous, right, for the project, for the work, for everything that we're trying to do, even for our relationship, right? We're afraid that they'll walk away from us. We're afraid that they'll say, we don't like this and we're going to go somewhere else. But what I have learned, and what you've probably learned along the way as well, is that our clients want to be challenged. They might never explicitly say that to us, but they want to be challenged. They want a partner that isn't just going to say yes to everything. And ultimately, that's where our true value is to push back on what our clients are asking us for and help them to make better decisions. We're the experts. We're supposed to be leading them through this so they don't make the mistakes that are going to ultimately hurt them in the end. So this idea of ruinous empathy is like, it's almost like I'm actually afraid of my own feelings. I'm scared. I'm afraid. I feel awkward. This is difficult for me, and therefore I'm going to prioritize my own feelings over saying something to the client and pushing back or challenging an idea or a request. And so this whole thing, all of this needs to shift. This approach, this mindset needs to shift to maintaining this ability, or maintaining the fact that we care about our clients, but saying to ourselves, I care so much about this work that we're doing together that I can't sit back and watch these decisions being made, these choices being made. I can't just say yes to this thing because I care so much about the success of this work that we're doing, your success in this work that we're doing, and I care about myself as well. Selfishly, I want to make sure that I'm able to do my best work too. And so in order to do that, I'm going to shift this narrative and I'm going to be in control. I'm going to lead you. I'm going to be asking some questions. I'm going to be pushing back. And so we're not going to allow ourselves anymore to fall into this category of ruinous empathy where we sweep things under the carpet knowing we know fine well what's going to happen. It's going to become a problem in the future. It's going to come back and bite us in the ass. And so this agreement that you're going to make with yourself right now is that I'm no longer going to sit back and watch my client unknowingly ruin this work that we're doing. I'm going to push back. I'm not just going to say yes. I'm not going to sit quietly in silence while this takes place. This is too important. The stakes are high. I can't watch this happen. And so when you think about how much do I really care about my clients? So everybody will say, if you ask anybody, do you care about your clients? They're going to say yes. But when they look at their behavior, who do they really care about? And it's the reason, this is the gap. They care more about themselves and how they feel versus the true caring of their client. And so we need to shift our thinking. So here's some questions that you can use to challenge a scoping issue or request. You're not saying no. This is the thing. I think a lot of people get tied up with this, is that we're not saying no. I'm just pushing back to make sure we're absolutely doing the right thing. Pushing back to make sure that the work that we're doing currently doesn't suffer, to make sure that the client has thought this through, that this is a decision that you're making, a sound decision and choice that you're making. And I'm also trying to protect the work that we've already agreed to do as well. And so this is also true, just like when a client's just trying to sneak something into the scope of a project, and you're like, no, you're like, okay, yes, but, and we also need to figure out how this is actually going to play out, right? We're just going to say yes to it. It's got to be thought through. Now, the questions I'm going to share with you here are actually questions that can be used in lots of different situations, because this isn't just a client problem. This is a problem when your boss walks into your office and says, I need this thing. And you go like, but I'm actually busy right now doing something else. So how do you even manage up to your boss? Again, this requires this idea of radical candor, right? Be able to challenge directly what is being said and what's being decided upon and what choices are being made. So you can use it with your boss, you can use it with clients, you can even use it to be your own coach in the situation as well. So you, like I said, if it's being used in if it's being used in a genuine way, in other words, you're not doing it to be a DICK, right? You're doing it to really I want to make sure this is the right thing. And so you're not saying no, but you're pushing back in a genuine way. And there's an element of selfishness to it. Like for me, for example, I'm only interested in spending my time doing work that's truly valuable. If I get a sense that what I'm doing is a waste of time, then I got to push back on that, right? And I'm not interested in just being busy for the sake of being busy. So your boss comes to you with a new idea. You say, okay, I hear you. It sounds interesting. It sounds potentially like it could be important. But how does this new thing stack up against the things I'm also working on in terms of priority? What would you like me to deprioritize in order to prioritize this? Right? So we've now having a conversation about what is the most important work to do and the impact that these choices are having on the rest of the work that we've got going on right now. And so you're really managing up, but you're also coaching into a really valuable conversation, an actual adult leadership conversation that needs to happen here. Client comes to you with a new request. You say, okay, looking at the scope of this project, is this request more of a priority than the work that we've already agreed to? Do you want to not do this and then do that instead? Or do you want to do both? And if that's the case, then we need to look at a separate agreement. So we need to maintain the work that we're doing here. This needs a new scoping agreement. And so you're really just, again, you're back to the client, allowing the client to really focus on planning and making good agreements around the work that we're doing and setting expectations. Let's face it, we've got to get aligned on the expectations. The client can't just come in and request something and we're not going to just lay down and let them take control. We're going to help them to make good choices. Someone comes to you with an opportunity, sounds really interesting, you feel yourself drawn to it, but you're really saying to yourself, if I say yes to this, what am I in turn really saying no to? And so we're being smart, right? We're being smart about what we're saying yes to, generally speaking. And when we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. So what do those conversations look like for you? Where can you integrate this into your work that helps you to really not just manage your own work and make sure you're doing your best work, but also that the work that you're doing for your clients, you're able to keep that on track and you're not allowing your clients to get distracted. I know this from my own work, that clients, they they like to get distracted. It's almost like they want to be distracted. It's almost like they want you to be distracted, but you know that it sets us up to fail. And so we're not going to allow that to happen. So we're not going to allow this ruinous empathy to creep in. We want to shift towards radical candor. We want to push back, challenge, and use these questions to really help us make sure we're doing the right work. So in summary, using questions like this, anything that falls outside the scope of a project, making sure that the priority, the thing we're working on, is really the most important thing. Even reminding ourselves that why we chose this work in the first place. Is it still a priority today? Okay. We want them to stay on track. We know that things are going to come up and try to derail our project, so we want to get ahead of these things. We want to challenge our clients to think more deeply in a smarter way about the work that we're doing. We want to make sure that everything we're doing is important, that we don't needlessly change things just because somebody has a new idea, and we're not just simply saying yes to things. So in conclusion, let your high caring, like if you truly care about the work that you're doing for your clients, let that be the reason why you challenge them and push back on the decisions and the choices they're making. As always, I love to hear about how you're using these questions, these conversations. I know they can be difficult and a little bit outside your comfort zone, but absolutely for the best for everybody. Someone needs to play this role. It's got to be you, right? And that becomes your true value that you bring to your clients. So write to me, email me, message me, jump into the community. Talk to me about how you're using these questions and these conversations in your work, how it's making a difference, allowing you to step up, be the leader that you need to be for the people around you. Enjoy it, have some fun with it, play with it. And I look forward to hearing from you. I'll see you next time.